Right, for LA, we have skating in this particular game, Empty Set, Hot Wheels. Number 1, also known as Jackie Nimble. Number 2, Fleetwood Smack, 8 a.m. Morningwood. By the way, Fleetwood Smack, Morningwood, your captain and co-captain of the Riots this year. Number 30, The General. Number 75, Regulate Her. 90, Marina Del Rage. 91, Sonic the Sledgehog. Don't do that. I can't hear myself. Number 115, Sly Fox. 562, Whip and Ash. 1988, Hurt Locker. 9021, and there would be a no if it were banked, for Gory Spelling. N2DP, Honey Brasco, and 0C, also known as OC, Laguna Biatch. Bench coaches are Gnarly Simon and Steph Con 1.
We are set up now for the first jam. Wrecking Bells in yellow and blue. LADD's Riots in gray and silver. We've got Hot Wheels, Empty Set, on the line for LADD up against Demand a Riot. Demand a Riot making a break around the right-hand side. Lead jammer, Hot Wheels, kind of battling a little bit against LADD's defense before getting out of the pack and ready to score as well. LADD moving up to the top of the pack, hoping to play a keep away from Demanda, but Demanda on top of them. She goes ahead and calls off the jam, but not before Hot Wheels picks up 1 point, 3 points for the Richmond Wrecking Bells.
And already we have one blocker in the notorious RED penalty box for the Richmond Wrecking Bells. That would be Tallulah Rex, number T2, taking some time as a blocker. I think I just said that. I'm saying it again.
Bay Area up on top 3-1, 29 minutes left in the first half.
We have Honey Brasco jamming for the LA Riots up against, I do believe that is Chantilly Mace for the Richmond Wrecking Bells. Chantilly Mace getting by a Regulator at the front of the pack, while Honey Brasco gets hit to the infield.
Chantilly Mace, lead jammer. Bay Area, Richmond Wrecking Bells taking that lead jammer status twice in a row. Honey Brasco out, ready to score points. And Richmond Wrecking Bells opening up the back door for Chantilly Mace. She blows through, 4 points for Richmond.
Now, again, the Riots, the all-star team for the LA Derby Dolls, going up against a home team from Bay Area Derby Girls. Now, last year, the Riots did come out on top, and there are enough roster changes on both teams where it may be a little bit up in the air as to who wins.
That's correct, Tara, but what we're looking at here is that LADD, the only team out there that's had a nail-biter this morning, up against SFV.
Yeah, that was one heck of a game, the opening game for the second day of Battle for the Coast, where the final score for that was 162-157 in favor of LA over San Fernando Valley.
Thin Lizzy out in front for Richmond. She is lead jammer.
It looks like it is the General jamming for the LA Derby Doll Riots.
And she's out and ready to score, but Thin Lizzy already in the midst of her first scoring pass. LADD looking to play a little runaway meow meow, so she calls it off. 2 points for Richmond, bringing the score to 9. Richmond Wrecking Bells 1, LADD, 27 minutes left in the first half.
Looks like we have Sonic the Sledgehog on the jammer line for the LA Riots, going up against Scrappy from the Richmond Wrecking Bells. And Scrappy, she used to skate with LADD for a little while before moving up to Northern California.
Well, that's some fancy trivia, Tara Armoff.
Isn't that fancy? I don't know if it's fancy, but it is trivia.
Scrappy looking for it on the inside, while Sonic on the outside. She gets knocked to the outfield and has to reset behind the pack again, but that doesn't stop her. She runs right into the fray. Scrappy getting knocked to the outfield by the infield by, I believe, is that Morningwood? Maybe. And after that long fight, Sonic breaks through and breaks a 3 jam in a row lead jammer streak. Lead jammer Riots.
That's right. This is the first jam in the game where the Riots have gotten lead jammer status. Sonic is through, picking up 4 points for the Riots. Bay Area doing their best in slowing that pack down, getting a goat in the back.
Scrappy breaking free, ready to score points, but Sonic putting up another 4 for LADD. Calls off the jam well before Scrappy has time to catch the pack, and we have your first lead change of the game, ladies and gentlemen. LADD's Riots 10, the Richmond Wrecking Bells 9. 25 minutes left in the first half.
Looks like we have a blocker from each team, at least sitting in the notorious RED penalty box. We have Demand a Riot jamming for the Richmond Wrecking Bells, and I do believe that is Hot Wheels for the Riots. No, I lied. That is Regulate Her.
Yeah, I thought I heard the crowd shouting for Regulate Her. And Demand a Riot out in front, lead jammer. Regulator regulating Amanda Jam It In Ya, but she's going to head to the penalty box because that was too much regulation. That's a back block. Notorious RAD penalty box for her, Tara.
Fleetwood Smack standing in the penalty box, coming back onto the track as a blocker for LA. Demanda through for 5 points for the Richmond Wrecking Bells. Marina Del Rage on her way to the penalty box for LA.
Pack spreading out as Richmond plays a little bit passive-aggressively, kind of like my grandma. And 4 more points for Demand a Riot. She calls off the jam with Regulator standing in the box. So we're going to have a power start for Richmond in this next jam.
I didn't know your grandma played roller derby. The things I learned.
No, but she was quite passive-aggressive. Score now 18-10, Bay Area on top. And that would be another lead change, friends. 24 minutes left in the first half. And Chantilly Mace, probably the obvious decision to do this power start.
And I like how Mace starts back about 10 feet behind the jammer line to get a nice running start on that pack, since the pack has forgotten what the pivot line is like.
Yeah, we might as well just make our own jam line in the back. Chantilly Mace on the outside. Wrecking Bells doing a great job of corralling all of the available LADD blockers on the track. Regulator back in the fray, but Mace has already picked up 5 points for the Wrecking Bells.
Wrecking Bells are doing a really good job, kind of a shock and awe. It's like they are keeping LA confused in the pack right now and not letting LA build very effective walls, or just not for very long.
We've actually been watching both of these teams during this tournament crawl into the brains of the other teams that they have played. Both of them playing a very psychological game with their competitors, and it has worked out for them.
Looks like it's Morningwood on the jammer line for the LA Riots. And, we have an official review coming up.
Folks at Roll One are here in the house and also available online. They are purveyors of the Roller Bones line. Roller Bones turbos are the wheels by which all others are measured. You can purchase them through Roll One at their website, www.skate1.com. 12 points on the board for Chantilly Mace, and that last jam pulls Bay Area ahead 30-10. 22 minutes frozen on the board for this review. It's pretty early in the game to be throwing out your official review, Tara.
Yeah, this had better be a good one.
Hopefully.
I mean, especially, again, we're only 8 minutes in, so it's like, I don't know. Sometimes those of us who are just looking at what's going on, we obviously don't always know what is going on in the minds of the captains and coaches for each team, and it might be worth it.
Well, I've never claimed to understand a woman's mind.
At least you're honest. All right, again, Morningwood on the jammer line for the Riots, going up against number 10, Thin Lizzy for the Richmond Wrecking Bells.
And we'll get the explanation here shortly. My announcer ref feeding it into the house.
All right, it's an official timeout to issue a penalty. And it looks like it was on, one of the Richmond skaters. Morningwood out and lead jammer for the LA Riots. LA with the 3-wall in front, doing their best to stop Thin Lizzy. Honey Brasco trying to reset to the back of the pack to force Thin Lizzy to reset behind her. However, Honey Brasco on her way to the penalty box.
Honey Brasco picking up a counterclockwise block that'll send her for a 30 seconds in the notorious RAD penalty box. Morningwood darts through the pack. 4 points for her. Thin Lizzy has yet to clear the pack on her initial pass, Tara.
Lori Spelling and Hurt Locker doing a good job of holding her into the pack. A successful jam for LA. We'll see if they can maintain that momentum.
Score now with 22 minutes remaining in the first half. Richmond Wrecking Bells up 30 to LA's 14. Scrappy putting on the star for Richmond.
It looks like she's going up against the general for the LA Riots. General taking that inside line and trying to make her way through.
Scrappy just looking to get through wherever the heck she can. But the general, though, on the outside, she's got a 1 to beat. And she does not. Scrappy breaks free first, a lead jammer.
That's right. The general gets reabsorbed into the pack by Richmond's fantastic defense.
And we've got a multiple player block being called on the general. She's going to head to the penalty box as we've got 5 points on the board already for Scrappy. Power jam advantage, Richmond.
Nice 3-wall by Whippinash, Honey Brasco, and Laguna Biatch. However, that does not stop Scrappy.
She picks up another 5 in the air. Pack stopping, and she decides to go ahead and call off the jam with probably about roughly half of the penalty time left on General's penalty. I'd say kind of.
Let's just say that.
Yeah, by eyeballing the clock and all of that. Eyeballing the scoreboard, 40 to 14, 20 minutes left in the first half. The ladies at West End Gallery here in Ventura are an all-female owned and operated shop dedicated to custom tattooing at a high creative and safety standard. Check them out at www.west-endgallery.com.
Demand a Riot making quick work of that pack, getting out, getting lead before turn 1.
It's a very excellent job by Demanda. We've got the general on her feet right now and being released back into the pack, but Demanda already doing more damage, 5 more points for Richmond.
General breaking through the pack on her initial pass.
Amanda Riot coming up at the top of the pack, and before Jackie Nimble can even get in there to assist, she calls off the jam. 3 points in that pass, 8 points total for Richmond. Richmond holding the Riots scoreless for the last 2 jams with that power jam situation, 48-14, and just over 19 minutes left in the first half, Tara.
Looks like we have Sonic the Sledgehog on the jammer line for the Riots, and I do believe she's going up against Chantilly Mace for Richmond. Really slow start. Both jammers trying to squeak by in any opening that they can get. Chantilly Mace going down behind LA 3-wall. She goes to the box.
It's like blocking out of bounds.
Not quite sure what the call was.
No, wait, no, that was somebody else. Maybe. Anyway, Sonic the Sledgehog, early jammer for the Riots. She gets knocked to the infield by number 36, Scaitlin. She finally breaks free on the inside and picks up 5 points for the Riots.
Chantilly Mace standing in the penalty box. She'll be back on the track momentarily. Sonic the Sledgehog forced to reset back and decides to call it off just as Chantilly Mace approaches the pack.
9 points for Sonic the Sledgehog. bringing LADD's score 24. Richmond still up 48. So we've got double Z's right now. 17 minutes left on the clock.
We have Morningwood back on the jammer line for LA, and I think, yep, that is Thin Lizzy for Richmond.
Morningwood also taking the opportunity to start a few paces back from the scrum, and it works for her. Wake up, folks. Morningwood is your lead jammer.
Speaking of waking up, I do believe that LA is beginning to catch on to the drift that Richmond is throwing out there, even though they have two blockers going to the box right now. Morningwood through for 4 points, I do believe. She's waiting to get some coaching. Waits to call it off just as Thin Lizzy approaches the back of the pack.
Not sure why there would be a delay in that call off. Right now, every second's going to count for the Riots, as they are still down 28 to Richmond's 48. 16 minutes left on the clock. Hot Wheels with the start for the Riots, and she will be skating against Chantilly Mace for Richmond.
Ooh, that's actually Scrappy.
Oh, is it Scrappy?
It is Scrappy.
Oh, forgive me, Scrappy, for when you listen to this later, developing yourself as a skater. Scrappy makes a run for it up the inside, and a solid hit up against Regulator. Man, I wouldn't like to bounce off Regulator like that, but apparently she is being called, perhaps for a clockwise block, I would think, except it seems she was rolling the right direction.
And you can see Scrappy holding her back. It looks like she landed on the small of her back there in that hit. She's not happy about that.
5 points up in the air for Richmond. Hot Wheels still fighting the pack against AmJam. AmJam, though, getting cleared out of the way by Marina Del Rage. Hopefully Hot Wheels was sprung, but then she was knocked to the outfield, has to restart behind the pack as Scrappy picks up another 5 points the hard way, as I like to say, Tara.
That's right. Hottie got taken out by a Little Miss Masochist there, forcing her to reset. She hasn't gotten out of the pack since. Got a forearm call on Scrappy. She's back to the notorious RED penalty box, making this a power jam for Hot Wheels.
Scrappy has kind of a struggling thing, and she kind of moves her arms like, got to get through. And so sometimes that can leave you open, of course, to a forearms penalty when you're trying to get through the pack.
Now, Hot Wheels cannot call the jam off, so she is just trying to stay on the track at this point. Notice she's not making any big moves. She doesn't want to pick up any penalties, so she's kind of going with it, even though being pushed around by AJ is all of the no fun. However, she does make it through, and Scrappy is also back on the track.
We've only got 3 points on the jam clock right now, so it's going to come to its natural conclusion with 4 points Scrappy was holding on to when she went into the penalty box, so 14 for Scrappy. Hot Wheels breaking the pack on her initial pass, but not picking up anything for LA, so score now 28-62. Less than 15 minutes left on the clock, and the Riots call a team timeout.
I think that's a very smart move for them to do.
I think it's a moment that they need to just sort of collect themselves, because I think that the Richmond Wrecking Bells playing their little mental game of crawling into people's heads is far outweighing the mental game that LA has been playing this weekend. You've seen it. We've seen it all weekend. Leagues kind of backing off of both of these teams. And it's really literally, I see a jammer skate into the pack, and then she realizes she's skating against AJ, or she's skating against Hot Wheels or Regulator, and there's just been this pullback that happens, and it's because they just sort of sit there and glare them down and crawl into their little brains.
And Bay Area definitely no slouch when it comes to the mental game. With Richmond, they are the champion home team within the Bay Area organization.
I wonder why.
Yeah. And they do have quite a few All-Stars on their roster, and we saw what the All-Stars did at WFTDA Championals this past year. They're kind of a big deal.
Kind of a big deal. Demanda Riot with that lead jammer point out there for Richmond. She is skating against Honey Brasco. Demanda re-entering the pack on the outside. Coming up against number 562, Whippin' Ash at the top of the pack, and Honey Brasco finally breaks free on her initial pass, and Demanda hot on her wheels, picking up 4 points. Five. Sorry, for Richmond. Demanda yelling at her team about being ready for something.
She was probably telling them to be ready to stop Honey Brasco because Honey was getting by on the inside. However, she did not pick up any points as Demanda was calling off that jam.
The other thing I might postulate there is that we see a lot of letting the back line form, keeping your team right in front of them, and then as your jammer engages, skating away, forcing that wall to have to keep up, and then hopefully garnering some points in a hole for the jammer to get through.
Strategery.
It's one of the things that I study sometimes. Chantilly Mace with the star and the lead jammer status for Richmond.
And Sonic the Sledgehog for LA making it out of the pack. LA setting up their 4-wall at the front of the pack, trying to maintain against Chantilly Mace. Chantilly going to the outside and calling it off just as Sonic hits the pack. The timing that Richmond has is just impeccable when it comes to jammer awareness and knowing when to call it off at just the exact right second.
You know, it's all in the timing.
And again, with LA being a bank track team and having different rules for lead jammer, it kind of complicates things. Like, everyone kind of forgets when you switch rule sets some of the finer points. And that lead jammer status is something that LA still sometimes has to get used to.
Morningwood skating for the Riots. She's up at the top of the pack battling against AJ. They're going to have to let her go, though. Lead jammer Morningwood. Hopefully the Riots will be able to do something with this lead jammer status, Tara.
Thin Lizzy finally making it out of the pack, getting by Laguna Biatch and Marina Del Rage. Morningwood getting through on the outside, but getting sucked back into the pack, getting forced out, calling it off.
3 points, though, on the board for the Riots. Hopefully they can start Einswein building an empire now with their score. 31 now. Bay Area sitting pleasurably at 69, 11 minutes and 41 seconds left in the first half.
Scrappy back on the track for Richmond, going up against Hurt Locker for the LA Riots.
Hurt Locker.
This is her first time jamming in this game. She did jam earlier today against SFV, was very effective. She's one of those bully jammers because, again, since she is primarily a blocker, she knows what she needs to do to get through a pack. And, again, she is right behind Scrappy, trying to push her out of the way.
She's like, yeah, you know, I want to be in front. And Scrappy deciding not to draft off of Hurt Locker, calls off the jam, score nothing. Riots putting pressure on Richmond, forcing that call off. We actually saw a lot of that in the game this morning against LA, which was why SFV was able to keep them to a lower score. SFV consistently getting their jammer at least out of the pack, even if she wasn't going to score points, so that LA would keep a lower score and more in range for their attempt at victory.
And another big factor in that first game this morning was jammer penalties. There was a revolving door on the notorious RED penalty box for the jammers, and it was ridiculous. Honey Brasco did end up fouling out of that game. She was sitting on 6 penalties for most of the second half, but finally had to leave the bench at the very end of the game. And yeah, LA barely squeaked by.
General and Demanda Riot both jamming in that last jam. General getting that lead jammer status, but forced to call it off because Demanda was plummeting toward her through time and space.
I would definitely call off the jam if I saw Demanda Riot coming at me like that, too.
Are you kidding me? I don't even think I would try to be on the track so that Demanda Riot could come after me, Tara. Chantilly Mace with the star for Richmond. She is skating against number 91, Sonic the Sledgehog.
Sly Fox trying to get one last hit on Chantilly Mace as she exits the pack.
Mace with the lead jammer status, and right now Sonic, who's been a very effective jammer for the Riots all weekend, fighting with the Richmond defense. She gets a little help in there from another blocker, but there seems to just sort of be this line of blockers, line of yellow that she has to get through as Chantilly Mace picks up a grand slam and goes for another one.
Liza Machete just holding Sonic back at the back of the pack, getting her teammates to gang up on Sonic. Oh, we got a big pile up there in turn 4. Sonic at the bottom of that. Chantilly Mace on another scoring pass.
And that's a low block being called on Sonic. She is going to head to the penalty box for 30 seconds. This gives Richmond the power jam advantage. Riots have to let her go, and she's got another 5 points. 15 points for Chantilly Mace, 84-31, with just over 8 minutes on the clock.
Laguna Biatch reporting to the penalty box as a blocker. Puts LA at a disadvantage.
The Richmond Wrecking Bells trading out Thin Lizzy from their pretty regular jammer rotation to put in Demanda to anchor out this power jam.
And they did that the last time that they started out with a power jam, too, if I remember correctly. It would make sense. Like, you would want somebody like Demanda out there scoring all of the points for you.
Sonic the Sledgehog being released from the penalty box now. Pack around at the apex. Demanda slamming into the pack. Stays in bounds on her tippy toes. And Sonic headed back to the penalty box.
Unfortunately, I didn't see what the call was, but apparently she wants to keep that seat warm in the notorious RED penalty box. Laguna Biatch back on the track, rejoining her teammates at the front of the pack. Demanda Riot hitting that front wall, trying to get by Fleetwood Smack. She twirls by, picks up 5 more points for the Richmond Wrecking Bells.
5 more fancy points as LADD blocker rejoins, and we've got Sonic on her feet in the box. Sonic's going to go for a 3rd jam in a row, keeping in mind that Sonic is used to shorter jams, perhaps in a row, maybe not.
That's true. Bank Track has 1-minute jams.
And also at that point, I would postulate that if you keep going back to the box, by the time you realize that it's your 3rd jam and you're still in, it's got to be hard to pull your brain out of the mire. Thin Lizzy fielded as jammer for Richmond. The pack's spreading out. We
got a star pass from LA. Sonic handing off the helmet cover to Hurt Locker.
And Hurt Locker
does not have the star cover on yet,
but she's got it in her hand, and she's going to head out to the penalty box. She picked up the penalty as an inactive jammer, but she will sit in the penalty box as a jammer.
Now Sonic, this is the 4th time she has gone to the box. She went to the box now as a blocker, so LA is going to have to rethink its jammer lineup at the very least.
With Sonic and Hurt stuck in there. Thin Lizzy through and ready to score points. Neither jammer is lead jammer. Hurt Locker back in the fray.
Liza Machete, Hurt Locker going at it at the back of the pack. Now AJ, Liza, number 22, Little Miss Masochist ganging up on Hurt Locker, keeping her very firmly in the back of the pack. Nice assist by Sonic as she comes out of the penalty box.
Sly Fox and Honey Brasco up at the top of the pack, giving Thin Lizzy problems. Thin Lizzy finally breaks free from that. As Honey Brasco gets called to the penalty box, and Sly Fox has to let her go. That was a hard 4 points, Tara.
Sonic back into the penalty box. This is trip number 5 if we're keeping track. LA's running into some penalty problems fairly early on. Well, there are just over 4.5 minutes left in this first period. Richmond 2 points away from breaking the century mark. LA stuck at 31.
3 additional points for Thin Lizzy. She had a couple of out-of-play blockers that she passed. So only 7 points for her in that No, there weren't 7 points for her. I was scribbling wrong. It's 101 now. Richmond Wrecking Bells, 33 for the Ryettes, and 4 minutes left on the clock. You know, Tara, I had thoughts that perhaps this year was Richmond's year, but, you know, LA, first repeat back-to-back champions of Battle for the Coast.
Richmond has the lead jammer in the form of Scrappy. Morningwood getting out of the pack, jamming for the Ryettes.
This is actually the first jam in quite some while that the Ryettes have been able to be effective in completing their initial pass.
Well, and also you're taking some really good jammer notes, and it looks to me like Morningwood is LA's most effective jammer right now. And so if they could just jam her every jam, that would be great.
Right, because I'm sure every jammer in the Jammerverse wants to be jammed every jam. Maybe if I had a little time machine so that I could, like, it's like the first jam every time. Like a really good dry white wine with seafood. You know, it's like the first bite every time.
Yeah, that would be awesome, wouldn't it?
Yeah, totally. Chantilly Mace wearing the star for Richmond, and she's out in front going to be called lead jammer.
Hot Wheels bursting out of the pack for the LA Ryettes. Chantilly Mace, time is on her side. She can call it off and not score a point because Richmond's still firmly in the lead, 105 points to LA's 33.
Honey Brasco with the star for the ladies in black and silver. Demanda Riot with the star for Richmond.
I don't want to jinx it, but I do not see anyone sitting in the notorious RED penalty box.
It's Ronry right now, Tara.
Wow.
Honey,
rare sight.
Honey Brasco still looking for it at the back of the pack. Richmond has contained her. Demanda Riot out in front, lead jammer. And Honey finally does find the inside. She is through and ready to score. Richmond hanging back in the back, trolling slowly so Amanda can get through. She has to contend with Sly Fox at the top of the pack. And the rest of the Riot's defense, she decides to call off the jam. Score now 107-33 with 1 minute and 40 seconds left in the half.
Morningwood back out on the track for the LA Ryettes.
She's up against Thin Lizzy.
The 30 seconds in between jams can be the longest 30 seconds ever.
I know. Sometimes it's really short and sometimes it's really fast. How is the same amount of time feel differently each time sometimes? Thin Lizzy busting at the top of the pack. Ryettes, though, building a fairly effective defense against her and allows Morningwood to come around the outside, missing Little Miss Masochist and becoming lead jammer for the Ryettes.
Ryettes hanging back, slowing that pack down, coming up and doing some offensive work. Oh, look at that. Thin Lizzy on her way to the penalty box. This makes this a power jam in favor of LA, a much-needed power jam for LA if they intend to stay in the game.
Morningwood with 5 points, picking up that jammer lap point for Thin Lizzy in the box.
Nice work by the general, opening up that Richmond defense for Morningwood as Morningwood pushes the foremost blockers out of play as much as possible so she can pick up those 5 points. She gets those 5 points and calls it off.
That's what we saw. Let's see. So 2 years ago we were calling and we were griping about passive, right? And what we saw there was kind of an example of that active offense, active-passive offense, where you have the three blockers hanging back, and then one blocker who goes into kind of corral the furthest back blocker for the other team. What that does is that pushes the pack back, springing your jammer free faster. It's a form of passive offense that I like because I'm like, at least someone is doing something to create pack definition further back so the jammer can go free.
It's a little more offensive than passive, and I like that. Our halftime score, Richmond 107, LA 43.
So, Tara, I want to ask you, as a skater, you have had many of those halftime chit-chats when your team has been down like this. What do you suppose is going to come out of the mouths of Diva sorry, Gnarly Simon and StefCon 1 trying to regroup the Ryettes.
I think they're going to tell them to focus because we were noticing that LA looked a little shell-shocked. It took them at least half of the first period to even kind of get into the groove of playing against Richmond. And I don't know how much the Ryettes were watching Richmond play yesterday, and I think that is a big deal because I know that StefCon has been taking notes all weekend long on everybody, and especially Richmond. And Richmond Wrecking Bells 107 points to LA Ryettes 43. And we have less than 30 seconds till the end of halftime. Everyone is back on the track. Everyone's ready to go. Everyone wants some more roller derby.
Thin Lizzy caged in the notorious RED penalty box at the end of the last jam of the first period. She is standing, though. This will be a power start for Hot Wheels. A possible thing that maybe could creep into the Richmond Wrecking Bells' heads is that most of the team actually has to catch a plane very shortly after the end of the game. So maybe that will factor in to the Ryettes' favor. Hot Wheels on that power start, lead jammer Ryettes.
Thin Lizzy pushing her way through, getting caught up by Honey Brasco at the front of that pack, then getting caught up by Gory Spelling, then looks like she's getting caught up by Marina Del Rage. Thin Lizzy being let out of the pack.
Hot Wheels still on her initial scoring pass now, tussling with a bunch of Wrecking Bells at the top of the pack. Wrecking Bells grinning, Baron von Patchhausen and Liza Machete exchanging some slaps in the Tucasol region.
Tucasol region. That's a new one.
Score stands at 46-107, 29 minutes and 10 seconds left in the game.
Looks like we have Morningwood putting on the jammer star for the LA Ryettes, going up against Demanda Riot from the Richmond Wrecking Bells.
The whistle blows, and yet the pack does not move, and the scrum start that has become so traditional in roller derby. Demanda making quick work of that scrum and becomes lead jammer, but Morningwood.
Again, Morningwood, she has been LA's most effective jammer in this game. Actually, today as in the morning game as well. Oh, no, actually, she didn't play in the morning game. I don't know what I'm saying. But she has been one of LA's more effective jammers this weekend.
And Morningwood putting on the pressure and picking up 1 point. Demanda picking up 1 point as well, 47-108, 28-20 left in the game.
And it looks like Chantilly Mays on the jammer line for Richmond, and she is completely covering the LA jammer, so I guess it's a ninja jamming for LA.
That ninja
That's the general.
Is the general.
Chantilly Mays going on the defensive a little bit, getting past her own players to meet the LA front wall, regulate her, momentarily stopping her, but not stopping her enough.
But Ningeneral sneaking up on the inside, forcing the call off.
However, not in LA's favor. Again, at this point, Richmond, they just want to eat up the clock because they have a nice, comfortable lead. Oh, and they're mixing up the jammer rotation a little bit. We see AJ on the jammer line for the Richmond Wrecking Bells going up against Honey Brasco. And the crowd is cheering for AJ.
AJ, very rarely in the jamming position since she broke her ankle a few years back, but she will do it in a pinch, and she is doing it now. AJ on the outside of the pack, and Honey fighting her way through, and she does make it lead jammer Ryettes.
Oh, it's interesting that you say that AJ usually doesn't jam. She was jamming a lot against Santa Cruz this morning. She was in the regular jammer rotation. That was really fun to see her. And look at her go on the defense against Honey Brasco while making her own way through the pack. Honey Brasco facing some trouble from the Richmond blockers in the back. Honey tries to reset herself. However, AJ is through.
Honey Brasco getting knocked down onto her knees on the floor, and she chooses to call it off. She did have a few more seconds had she stayed up on her feet. But LA picking up 2 in that last jam, 50-108.
Did Honey get sent to the box? Because I do not see an LA jammer on the track. I just see Scrappy. Scrappy is...
Yep, Honey is in the box. I would assume probably a low block as she fell down. That would be my assumption.
We'll go with that for now. What the heck?
Low block or back block is usually what happens from the floor. Scrappy lead jammer.
Richmond holding that pack to a standstill. LA walling it up in the front. Gory Spelling doing her best. Oh, look at that. Scrappy on her way to the penalty box. Looks like we have some revolving door jamming going on. Honey Brasco back on the track, shoving her way through that defense, getting past that last line of defense there. And that was Baron von Punchhausen, that last line of defense for Richmond.
Richmond losing Katja to the penalty box. Down a blocker as Honey picks up 5 points for the Ryettes. We do have Scrappy standing in the box, less than 10 seconds on her penalty.
Hurt Locker grabbing a Richmond blocker. Again, trying to get that goat, hold that pack to a standstill while Honey Brasco pushes her way through. Honey Brasco back in the penalty box. This is now a power jam in favor of the Richmond Wrecking Bells.
They've only got a 37-second power jam, though, and we're going to, of course, go to the natural conclusion of the jam, and Honey will come in for a whopping 7 seconds of the rest of the jam. 5 points on the board for Scrappy. Ryettes needing to lock down the pack and keep her in her place if they have hopes of a recovery here in the second half, Tara.
Morningwood bridging for the LA Ryettes as Hurt Locker, Gory Spelling, and Marina Del Rage do their best to hold back Scrappy. However, Hurt Locker being sent off the track to the notorious RED penalty box.
5 more points in the sky for Scrappy. And that is the natural conclusion of the jam with Honey still seated in the penalty box.
Well, we don't know what happened at halftime with the locker room talk, as it were, for the LA Ryettes. Unfortunately, doesn't look like the talk has kicked in yet into action. We see Demanda Riot, again, doing what we have seen her do this entire game. When a jam starts off in a power jam in favor of Richmond, they throw Demanda on the track.
Demanda looks for it at the top of the pack with a caged blocker for the Ryettes and a strange little somersaulty thingy at the back of the pack. As Demanda is lead jammer, Honey Brasco released from the box, pack located around turn number 2. Demanda Riot coming in on the outside around Jackie Nimble and kind of blows by Whip and Ash and picks up 5 points for Richmond.
Honey Brasco getting shoved out of play by Baron von Punchhausen. Having to reset behind, she meets up with Liza Machete at the back of the pack.
And on the no pack call, because the Ryettes were getting spread out contending with Demanda up at the top of the pack, Demanda Riot picks up another 5 points. But Honey Brasco free and clear, ready to score points with a minute remaining on the jam clock. And, of course, Demanda picks up 1 and calls off the jam. 11 points total for Demanda Riot. Score now 124-56 with 22 minutes remaining in the game.
Looks like we have Chantilly Mace back on the jammer line for Richmond, going up against the General for the LA Ryettes. Again, Richmond in yellow and blue, the LA Ryettes in black and silver.
Chantilly Mesa starting a little further back as she takes a bit of a spill. Whoops.
This floor is slippery. Let's be clear about that. And anyone who has been to Battle for the Coast knows that. The very slick concrete here at the fairgrounds. Not very roller derby friendly. They do have to... Whoa! And we have LA Ryettes somersaulting over themselves at the back of the pack.
Laguna holding her elbow pad on. Chantilly Mace followed closely by the General. They both hit the pack, no points. Mace calling it off quickly enough. 129.57 still remains the score. We actually do treat this polished concrete floor. Sin City Skates, they say, tell us what you skate on and we'll make sure you stick to it. Does provide us with our treatment for the floor, and they also have provided us 2 MVP RollerCon passes to give away here in-house. Those were just given away a few minutes ago at halftime for this game. Thanks, SinCitySkates.com.
AJ jamming for the Richmond Wrecking Bells. She's caught on the pack as Morningwood out and lead jammer for the LA Riots. AJ making it out of the pack. LA, the front of the pack. Morningwood tiptoeing her way into the infield by number 22, Little Miss Masochist, decides to call it off before AJ scores any points.
Morningwood decides to be a jam ref, holding up 4 points, but we've got 1 point given to her. We've got an official review being called by Richmond. Now, this is kind of what I've noticed here. The times when the Riots have been lead jammer throughout this game, the highest scoring jam that the Riots have had is Morningwood's last jam, which was a partial power jam in the first half for 10 points. Other than that, we're looking at 3s, 4s. Well, we had a 9er there, and really, you know, just a few points here and there, which we're seeing. You know, Richmond able to get their jammer out of the pack to put pressure on, enough pressure that we've got several lead jammer statuses here where I don't even write down any points for the Riots.
And the Riots ran into this problem this morning as well. Against San Fernando Valley. Just the nickel and diming, and against a strong flat track team like an up-and-coming league such as San Fernando or the Richmond Wrecking Bells, like, you need to really turn the power on and get your jammers out and get them scoring more points. And we'll see if LA is still, is it too late for LA to adjust is really the question to get that happening.
I am seeing them having a little bit more focus in the pack. They are kind of walling up and staying in that wall together, and it's having a little bit more effect on them. I mean, we've only seen an 11-point jam on a power jam when Honey Brasco was in the box and Demanda Riot jammed. So I'm seeing that they're getting a little bit more control, at least over their defense, and now it's sort of a rein it in and turn on the speed for your jammers after playing a tournament for 2 days.
Let's see if I can get... Oh. Craig's fist wandered off. I was hoping to...
Oh, no, he's coming up the stairs, Tara.
Oh, boy. I hope he'll say something to us.
Attempting to get a penalty called, and the no call stayed on.
Okay, so Richmond was actually trying to get a penalty called that was not called, and
so
the no call stands.
Yeah, no matter what anybody says, the refs are usually right when it comes to these things. So we're back. Oh, we're still in the official.
We've still got an official review happening. Perhaps more clarification. Oh wait, no, we got the.
Now we get it. They're pointing towards LA, so LA apparently has some issues as well going on. And we see Gnarly Simon, the team manager, not looking very happy. Gnarly Simon, she just recently retired from both the Riots and her home team, the Sirens, for the LA Derby Dolls, and stepped up into the coach position for the Riots this year. And it's really nice to see someone who knows the team and knows roller derby stepping into that coaching role for the team.
Folks at Green Monster also know roller derby well. They've been here all weekend providing support to our various and sundry vendors. The folks at Green Monster are found at www.grnmonster.com. It's been fun having Quadzilla in the house this weekend, providing his skates to the masses.
Did you see him jam skating on one skate earlier today? He had one tennis shoe and one skate on, and was managing to jam dance.
Whoa. You were saying that Quadzilla was messing around so people would watch him?
What?
I know, that never happens. We've got Craig's Fist here to give us our penalty clarification.
If you wait, I'll go get contested the score, submitted, and there's
All right, LA is contesting the score, and that is why this official review seems to be going on for a long time. It's because there is more than one thing being officially reviewed.
They had to multitask. Amazing officials this weekend. They even multitask. Whether or not they make julienne fries, I will find out for you later and report back.
That would be very important information to know, by the way.
58-129, Richmond on top, 20-45 remaining in the game.
Scrappy taking the outside line for the Richmond Wrecking Bells. Honey Brasco, Fleetwood Smack trying to stop her. Hot Wheels coming up on the inside. Angel Maker not letting her through. Scrappy getting out and getting lead jammer for the Richmond Wrecking Bells.
Hot Wheels still with one more to contend with, but out of play. Way out of play. A good 40 feet out.
Yeah, it's so out of play.
That's number 11, Angel Maker. She'll head to the box, and that, folks, is the end of the jam. 4 points for Scrappy. Brings their score up to 133. 58 still for LA, holding steady with 20 minutes left in the game.
Looks like we have the General jamming against Demand Riot. This will be fun.
It will be fun, because Derby is fun. Demand Riot taking a fast outside edge and just sort of one woman plowing the entire Riot's line. But the General doing her little ninjutsu deal about 10 feet back from Demanda right now.
And again, really nice teamwork from the Richmond blockers. Only 2 of them on the track, but they are really doing a fantastic job of tearing apart the LA wall.
The General able to put up 4 points, and Demanda answers with 4 of her own. It looks like we're going to do a little running some time off of the clock.
Demanda approaching LA 3 wall in the back. All blockers back on the track for LA. In fact, there's no one sitting in the... Oh, I was going to say that no one was sitting in the notorious RD penalty box, but I would be lying because Liza Machete is now there. But still, despite Richmond being at a slight pack disadvantage, Demand Riot holds the keys to the end of that jam. She decides to call it off.
No change in the point differential in that last jam. Demanda picking up 8, General picking up 8, so now they're just a little taller on the scores. 66-141, 18 minutes left in the game.
We have Morningwood versus Chantilly Mace, jammer-wise for each team. LA lining right up on that jammer line, but Chantilly Mace quickly trying to break her way through. And look at that, Morningwood getting out, getting lead for the LA Riots.
Chantilly Mace now free, ready to score points. LA looking very strange. It was like they were holding the door open for Morningwood and then not, but 4-0.
Well, it worked.
Well,
LA picked up 4 points on that. So
yes, they did.
It's one of those weird things where it seems counterintuitive, and again, it's like we've been around roller derby for a hot minute or two, and sometimes it's confusing to see. It's like that shouldn't work, but it did, and I don't understand why that worked.
So we'll stack up 2 players on the inside and line up 2 on the outside with the door open that she's not going to take. Sure, that works.
Thin Lizzy jamming for the Richmond Wrecking Bells, trying to get by Whippinash at the front of the pack. Hot Wheels trying to get by Baron von Punchhausen, neck and neck. And looks like Thin Lizzy is lead jammer, so looks like she's going to try and wear Hot Wheels down a little bit before calling it off.
Wow, it's like a chain on a poor dog chasing after the mailman. She brought it
sad.
right down to the second that Hot Wheels was going to engage the pack.
It's like the old Foghorn Leghorn cartoons when he takes the 2x4 and smacks the dog on the butt and then runs out to the rope
right to the end.
House.
Yes, yes.
That's what Richmond is doing right now.
That's a great sound effect. Scrappy with the start for Richmond.
Up against the General for LA. General taking the outside, ninja-ing her way into lead jammer position in this jam.
Scrappy, though, gaining ground roughly about 10 feet behind her and gaining. Forces the call off. 0-0 in that jam, 141.70, and just under 16 minutes.
It was unfortunate. Now, LA, they lined up in the back there trying to slow that pack down for the General, but unfortunately, Scrappy was coming up too fast. The General couldn't take advantage of of that slowed down pack, because also LA didn't charge the pack as soon as the general reached them, so she was forced to call it off, making it scoreless for both teams.
Bit of a timing issue there. We've got Morningwood with the star for the ladies in black and silver. She's up against Amanda.
Amanda already pushing her way through the pack. Getting out, she does get lead, momentarily gets sucked back in. Morningwood right behind her. LA making their way to the front of the pack. Each team has a full complement of blockers. And here we see Richmond, again, having that superior control, slowing the pack down just enough, charging the pack as Amanda comes in. Now, that was a scoreless jam, but it's still in Richmond's favor because of the point spread right now.
Score still stands at 141-70, and it is really all in the timing. It's like they just sort of saw the little mark of Amanda being there and just charged forward.
It's obvious that they work on that strategy quite a bit to great effect. We have Chantilly Mace versus Honey Brasco. Honey Brasco getting caught in the back. Chantilly Mace getting caught in the front, but not for long. She pushes her way through to lead jammer status for the Richmond Wrecking Bells.
Honey Brasco still ping-ponging in the pack, but she makes it through on the inside. Richmond looking to trap Laguna at the back of the pack, but she makes it up to the front of the pack, hoping not to get goaded. But Chantilly Mace just says, enough of this, picks up 4 points and calls off the jam.
Looks like we have another official review coming up. We see Gnarly Simon, the team manager for the Riots, in the middle there, ready to make her case, as it were.
So Battle for the Coast is by far my favorite tournament that I've worked in roller derby in my 7 short years. This is my 3rd time. I fly all the way out from Denver, and I absolutely adore it. The 20-minute gameplay on Saturday, and then to see teams first adapt to the 20-minute gameplay, and then the teams that make it to Sunday readapt back to an hour-long game, and seeing how that works just makes it really exciting and fun for me. So thank you to Ventura County Derby Darlings. They've been hosting this tournament every year except one since 2006.
That's right. It is a really fun tournament. I've come to a lot of them. Sometimes I've played in some of them as well.
Fancy.
Yeah.
Yes.
With the Riots and with the Rejects, one of the pickup teams that used to exist. And it looks like we're getting some information about the official review that is happening. And I think, okay, we're coming out of the official review.
That was actually not an official review. It was a timeout to clarify the existence of arms.
They do have arms, so...
Yes, I believe perhaps LA feels that maybe there are not enough forearm penalties being called.
Ah. Interesting. Thin Lizzy out and lead for the Richmond Wrecking Bells. Up against No, that's not Hot Wheels. That is the General. General not able to ninja her way out of the pack on her initial pass. She's caught in the back. And, she has a track cut. She goes to the notorious RAD penalty box. That makes this a power jam for Richmond.
Thin Lizzy already with the 5 points as Richmond sends number 11, Angel Maker, to the box. Thin Lizzy pushing against the pack. The pack gets out too far. And look, we made sausage. 5 points.
Nice work by Scaitlin from Richmond. Nice assisting. Well-timed. There she goes. Does it again. Sonic the Sledgehog doing her best to try and stop the jammer. Does not work.
13 points for Thin Lizzy in that last jam. Score now 158-70. 12 minutes and 45 seconds remaining in the game. General on her feet in the box.
And it looks like this will be a power start for Scrappy of Richmond.
See, it's interesting. I see them playing Demanda on a full power jam, but anybody else from their jammer lineup on the power start, I guess they figure all their jammers are being effective at this game, and Scrappy is no different. Lead jammer just as General gets released from the box.
General losing her balance there, getting caught up in the back of the pack. still not out on an initial pass at all. Taking a whip assist from Gory Spelling. Oh, she's attempting a star pass. We see Whippinash moving back with her because Whippinash is the pivot. General just getting knocked around so much right now. Baron von Punchhausen, she is really on her game this time.
That was a definitely a forearm call on 238 Baron von Punchhausen. As Scrappy does make it through for another 5 points, and
the General looks exhausted.
The General still has the star on her helmet.
That's right. The star pass just did not work.
2 additional points for Scrappy. She calls off the gem. You know what I noticed is that we didn't have an updated star pass happening there. The only thing that has to happen in the pack is the handoff to the pivot now under the new WFTA rules. And I felt like they could have completed that, but then General started putting the star back on her helmet because there was a lot of blocking happening in there.
She was getting the snot knocked out of her.
Well,
I think
yes.
that just distracted her so much. I mean, how many times did she get knocked to the ground in just that one turn and that small amount of time? And then we have Morningwood just shooting out of the pack, getting lead jammer status against Demand a Riot. Now we see LA catching on to the Richmond strategy of slowing down just enough, getting their own jammer within reach, and then pushing forward against Richmond. However, with them in the back of the pack, again, Demanda so fast. All of the Richmond jammers just so fast, and their timing is just so spot on. Demanda picked up points on that, even though LA did not.
3 points for Demanda brings the score 172 to 70. Richmond ahead by 102 points, 10 minutes remaining in the game.
Honey Brasco versus Chantilly Mace on this go-around. Chantilly Mace making it out front. Oh, she's trying to eat the baby. She's still going on defense. Almost gets sucked back into the pack herself. However, the baby get eated. Honey Brasco in the back of the pack. Now she's trying to push her own teammates out of her way as she makes it out on her initial pass. Chantilly Mace starting to scoring. Chantilly Mace picks up 2 points on that jam, calls it off.
Only a 2-point jam, though, for her. 174 to 70, 9 minutes and 20 seconds remaining in the entire battle for the coast. Our friends at La Catrina have been here all weekend, purveyors of Mexican folk art and gifts. You can go online and order those items, www.lacatrinafolkartstore.com.
And it looks like Thin Lizzy pushing her way out at front. However, Hot Wheels pushing her out of play and forcing her to reset at the back of the pack. The General back on the track. She gets lead jammer status for the LA Riots.
Thin Lizzy looking for it against a 2-wall, but the rest of the pack stuck far away from them.
Big hit by AJ on the Generals. The General comes to the pack on her scoring pass. Really nice work by LA at the front of the pack, holding back the jammer as much as possible. Thin Lizzy finally getting around, but not before the General decides to call it off after picking up 4 points.
That was kind of the most epic waterfalling that I've seen in a while. You had folks coming from the inside and the outside to just swarm up and around the General, and finally her ninjutsu failed her, and she had to call off the jam. Thankfully, she had already passed those people that were waterfalling forward. Score now 74 to 174. About a century between these two teams. How about an actual century in between these two teams?
Morningwood jamming for the Riots up against Scrappy for Richmond. Scrappy making it out and lead. Morningwood, getting momentarily caught up there. She does make it out of the pack. LA doing a 3-wall there in the middle of the pack, trying to hold Scrappy. However, Scrappy finding the tiniest little nooks and crannies to hop through, picks up 4 points and calls it off.
Okay, so we've got Morningwood saying she got 2, but Morningwood is not a jam ref.
True story, she's not.
178-74. 7 minutes left in the game. Oh, wait, we had one for Morningwood. One.
1 whole point. 1 point.
Amanda Riot on the line against
Whip and Ash.
Whip and Ash. This is her first time jamming in this game.
It's interesting that they would pick Whip and Ash to jam because she has been very effective at the front of the pack. However, LA's decided to mix it up, but she is getting caught behind AJ at the front of the pack.
She does finally make it past the pack. The pack going very quickly right now.
LA getting all of their blockers at the front of the pack. Demanda coming up on that LA pack. She's got at least 2 points. Oh, I was right. I know how to count. She got 2 points on that jam and called it off.
It was as if your perspective was right there at hip level.
Who knew?
Who knew? 182.75. If you want better perspective on Battle for the Coast 2014, we will have the archives up on YouTube.
Ooh.
Yes,
that's
fancy.
Really cool. Very fancy.
I believe we have Saturday up now.
Also, we want to give a really big thank you to Thunder Thighs for putting together the broadcast of Battle for the Coast 2014. It's not every year that there is an internet broadcast, and so we are really super stoked that this was able to happen this year.
Super stoked that I was able to add a broadcast team to my announcer repertoire here at Battle for the Coast, and most thanks go out to Thunder Thighs, who anchored that.
Chantilly Mace out in lead.
Out in lead.
Jackie Nimble out of the pack. Chantilly Mace pushing her way through. Calling it off just as Jackie Nimble picking up 4 points because Richmond all walled up in the back and they didn't see Jackie come through on that inside line as Mace was calling it off.
Well, you know, a little candlestick action out there. Jackie, this is her first time jamming in this particular matchup. 182.79, and we are under the 5-minute mark, folks. And look at this, Tara.
We haven't seen this since the juniors game this afternoon.
Right?
Skaters visiting the much talked about but never used pivot line.
That's right. Break out your tutus and belts because we're partying like it's 2009. The General out, lead jammer.
Hurt Locker on her way to the notorious RED penalty box.
Thin Lizzy still fighting against that LA defense.
That would be a Regulator and Hot Wheels. Hot Wheels being sent to the box.
The General on her initial scoring pass. Oh, did she ninja it? She did not.
She ninja'd it, but also committed a track cut.
Oops.
So emo of her to be cutting like that.
So 5 points now for Thin Lizzy. Heartbreaking end of the game power jam for Richmond.
Then Lizzie getting knocked around by Honey Brasco. Honey Brasco getting knocked around by Liza Machete. Richmond hanging back.
Lizzie is being told by her bench right now very vociferously to not call off the jam. The bell's heading to a clock running situation.
Yes, there is just over 3 minutes left in the game, so all the Richmond Bells have to do is just run the clock down. Lots of falling there in turn one. The General makes it out, picks up 4 points for the Riots. Regulator going up against Thin Lizzy. However, AJ coming up and assisting Thin Lizzy out of the pack.
Hot Wheels trying to get in there and take advantage of the situation, but she was too far out of the front of the pack.
And the General back to the penalty box. Yet another power jam for the Richmond Wrecking Bells. I see a multiplayer block being called on Hot Wheels. So she's going to take a seat in the penalty box.
12 points for Thin Lizzy in that last jam. I didn't see if General was sitting on any points. I apologize. We have some speedy jam refs in this game. They signal, get their nod, and if you're not looking directly at them, you'll miss it. 195.83, 2 minutes and 28 seconds. And I was just told by Thunder Thighs, our goddess of the broadcast, that they will have archives loaded up in the next week or so to YouTube. So you can Google or search on YouTube Battle for the Coast 2014 and pull up those archives.
Awesome.
You can also like us on Facebook. The tournament actually has their own Like 'em Up page, Battle for the Coast. And then just every year we put up tournament information. For those of you who don't know, this is an invitational in that coastal teams from, the Pacific coast, which also counts Hawaii and Alaska. Rage City has been down here before. Are invited. There are invitations that go out, and then after we have our 10 leagues who are participating, they're then seeded into the tournament.
Rage City, they were the ones that came down with like 7 skaters or something insane like that. What weren't they?
There was a team from Canada who came out.
I just remember it was like 2 years ago where
yes, that was a team from Canada. No, Rage
insane.
City came out in like 2007, or it was before my time. Before my time. Scrappy lead jammer for Richmond General still in the penalty box. She is just now being told to stand.
Whip and Ash forced to let Scrappy through. That is 5 more points for the Richmond Wrecking Bells. General facing a 4-wall of yellow in the back as she gets back onto the track. Scrappy through for another 5-point pass. Oh my goodness.
General taking pool noodles off of the officials' stage, and she gets a forearm penalty.
And she looks outraged and disgusted and frustrated all at the same time.
What? This is an outrage.
So back to a power jam advantage for the Richmond Wrecking Bells.
5 more points for Scrappy. Amjam with a big hit on the outside against Jackie Nimble. Jackie kind of spins around a few times before she re-enters the track. Another 5 points for Scrappy. 20 points on that jam brings the Richmond Wrecking Bells score 215 to 81, and 1 minute remaining in the game.
Looks like Demanda Riot setting herself up to jam again for the Richmond Wrecking Bells.
Following that default strategy of theirs on starting the power jam.
That's right, because we do have the General back in the penalty box. Bay Area, or Richmond holding back, just letting Demanda push the LA blockers out of play. They have to let her go. She gets lead jammer status. General back on track. Looks like she was going to try and and mess with Demanda a little bit, but instead Demanda calls it off with less than 30 seconds on the clock. It looks like that they're just going to let the time run out. That may have been the last jam.
It could very well be. The Richmond Wrecking Bells have all 3 of their timeouts. However, all of the team timeouts have been spent for the Riots, and I think we're just going to watch it count down. And that, folks, is the end of the game, and for the first time, the Richmond Wrecking Bells will take home the Battle Ore from Battle for the Coast 2014. So every year an ore is hand-painted by our very own Vesuvius, and that is the trophy that each team gets to take home who wins. Again, that final score, 215-81. And Richmond takes home the ore here from Battle for the Coast. It has been a pleasure calling with you, Tara Armoff.
It has been an absolute delight, as a matter of fact, calling with you. So there.
So it's been a great time. We want you to join us next year. Like us on Facebook, Battle for the Coast, and we will certainly see you next year right here at the Ventura County Fairgrounds.